As you know, we focus on Bible prophecy each week for about 5 minutes. We call it a prophecy update. Scholars say that of the 2,500 or so prophecies in the Bible, there's still about 500 that have not been fulfilled, the end times prophecies. And so our position is that we should be able to see things trending in the direction of those prophecies. For example, the Bible predicted thousands of years ago that Israel and Jerusalem in particular would be incredibly troublesome politically in the end times. It was to be expected by a futurist reading of the Bible, and that's obviously unfolding just as God predicted. And so we see things happening that not necessarily verify, but that are expected by reading prophecy. When talking about the end times, we frequently use the phrase one world government. It comes from a literal reading of certain passages in the Revelation. A component of the one world government will be a global system of currency. So you therefore expect talk of global government and movement in the direction of global currency. I read an article titled, Pope Francis Calls for End of Sovereignty and the Establishment of Global Government. Now the title tells us everything we need to know, but here are a few excerpts from the article. At a meeting of the Pontifical Academy, wow, to be invited to that, what an incredible something. Held recently, Pope Francis advocated a policy of decreased national sovereignty and increased global unity. A shift towards globalism is necessary, he said, in order to fight climate change and other worldwide threats. Our only hope for planetary peace and progress is to make room for international organizations to develop into governing bodies, supplanting the state interest with the will of the United Nations. Yeah, that's never going to work. But anyway, meanwhile, our friends over at Facebook are working on launching a global currency. The article states, and I quote, Facebook is finalizing plans to launch its own cryptocurrency next year. It's planning to set up a digital payment system in about a dozen countries by the first quarter of 2020. The social media giant wants to start testing cryptocurrency, which has been referred to internally as global coin, by the end of this year. You know, 40 years ago when I got saved, prophecy ministries were predicting global government and the development of global currency. And at that time, in the 70s, it seemed absolutely ridiculous. It seemed like how would you ever get there? No one could fathom it. But the Bible predicted it, and so we talked about it. It's not so ridiculous now. It's actually happening. That's one reason it's so mind-blowing to me that so many pulpits have effectively abandoned a futurist view of prophecy. It makes no biblical or logical sense that they would do that when so much is now being revealed. And when non-believers are more interested in prophecy than ever, just look to the media. On television, recent apocalyptic shows are The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Colony, Salvation, Aftermath, The 100, Z Nation, Falling Skies, The Last Ship, and Containment. Netflix has been promoting Good Omens, in which a demon and an angel seem to be working together to stop an 11-year-old Antichrist. I watched part of the first episode, fell asleep after 15 minutes. It's terrible. But if you want to watch it, that's fine. Tell me what happens. And then in theaters, this year alone, The Last Man, Crossbreed, Battle Angel Alita, Chaos, Walking, Captive State, Terminator 6, and A Quiet Place 2. If someone wants to argue that there's always been apocalyptic shows, well, okay, that makes the point even better. Non-believers are interested in what they call the end of the world. We call it the return of Jesus Christ and the beginning of a glorious future. And you know what? The point is, we know the end of the world. Out of all the different philosophies and shows and all of they're all based on some philosophy of God and the future. We know. You can talk to anybody who's interested in this stuff with absolute foreknowledge of what God is going to do from the book of the Revelation. Jesus promised he'd return to rapture his church, which entails the resurrection of the dead in Christ of the church age, and then the translation from the earth to heaven of all living believers. It's presented in the Bible as imminent. Then comes the 7-year Great Tribulation. Then comes the second coming of Jesus. Then comes the 1,000-year kingdom on earth. Then comes the final judgment of all mankind. And then comes eternity with the Lord in heaven or without him in conscious torment in the lake of fire. And so are you ready for the rapture? If not, get ready, stay ready, keep looking up, ready or not, Jesus is coming.